The value of all of the mobile phone networks in the world is worth a lot more than gold. But nobody compares them. That's stupid. But people compare these things. Now, if in 10 years' time, Bitcoin has smart contracts, has cheap transactions, all of these things that Ethereum offers, then fine, that may change again.
How do you see the war between the other layer one players? Because obviously
it's actually not all in Ethereum. It's about 80% Ethereum. There's 95% in crypto because I've also got a position in carbon, which is the only other non-crypto trade I've got. But the other layer ones, it's really simple to me. I don't know why everybody gets in a big mess about this. It's really simple. So Bitcoin is the least flexible in its current format. So if you want flexibility of smart contracts and ease of use, you go to Ethereum. That's great. Now, if you want cheaper fees or faster, you go to another layer one, Solana, Terra, Avalanche, etc. And they all have their place in the ecosystem, and that's fine. And I don't think the market is all about price or speed. It's all about network effects. Those chains are getting network effects. And I think Ethereum's dominance of the alternatives market, the non-Bitcoin market, will fall over time because the market's going to broaden out and find different use cases. It's like I was having an argument on Twitter last night about decentralization, but it's not decentralized enough for them. Nothing is compared to Bitcoin, but people will take trade-offs. Everybody does. Life is about a trade-off. And the trade-off is less decentralized equals faster and cheaper. And that equation is what it is, and you make your choice. And that means there will be people adopting some of these ecosystems.
Do you see Ethereum flipping the Bitcoin's market cap?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, for sure, because one is the internet of value, and the other is a store of value, right? They're not the same things. The value of all of the mobile phone networks in the world is worth a lot more than gold, but nobody compares them. That's stupid. But people compare these things. Now, if in 10 years' time, Bitcoin has smart contracts, has cheap transactions, all of these things that Ethereum offers, then fine, that may change again. I don't think of it necessarily as a permanent flippening. Maybe something else happens. I have a completely open mind. But right now, if you look at the network effects and the speed of growth of the network, Ethereum will outperform. And eventually, it only has to outperform by 2x and it's done. And it's larger. Does that mean that Ethereum's won? No, they're two different things. It's ridiculous. And, and who knows if we look at that in 10 years' time, could be something else. And I have no issue with that.
Let's cover a little the institutions that want a seat at the table. How are your private discussions on this topic with these people, obviously?
They all want to learn more about the crypto space. They all understand that this is meaningful. They all understand that they need to learn a new skill set. You can't just go and hire people to do it because people don't want to go and work for institutions. So they have to retool people internally. They have to get approvals. They need to figure out what the hell do we do with custody? How do we want to think about this space? How do we allocate? So actually the way that most people did it was venture capital. That's why we've seen all the huge amounts, the tens of billions of VC money going into the space, because it was easy to do, because you could just put some money, give it to somebody else, and you didn't have to have a mark to market. So you didn't have to go to your investment committee and say, well, this is a 70 vol asset and it goes up and down a lot. So don't worry, it's had a 50% drawdown. You didn't have to do any of that. So that's why they did that. But the problem is it's pushed up valuations of VC. The next stage I'm seeing, I've even set up a fund of funds which invests in digital asset hedge funds, because that space, the secondary market, has had very little primary capital. So that will create enormous amounts of liquidity over time into the marketplace by investing into the hedge fund space. Others are trying to put it, just buy Bitcoin directly and Ethereum directly. My guess is they'll end up, more of them will look at vehicles as opposed to owning the direct, because it just gives them an easier way of getting it through their investment committee, getting it approved from their trustees, etc.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
We are missing some puzzle pieces in order to offer proper solutions to institutions? What are the biggest stumbling blocks?
It's vehicle choice, and you're right. I think your hypothesis that we need a broad-based index and sub-indices actually is super useful. I think Hunter Horsley and Bitwise are dead right with what they're doing as well. And we've seen many people benchmark using a bunch of different indices around the world, so there's space for several. So I think that is super useful. I think there's fund of funds. They don't really exist. There's like 3. They're small. So that's another way people allocate them. And the hedge fund business alone is like a whatever $1 trillion industry, $3 trillion industry. And this industry in crypto is about 6 billion. It's like, okay, that's completely wrong. So those vehicles, obviously the ETF with spot would have been a decent vehicle. I mean, there are some in Europe and Canada and elsewhere. I think that helps too. I think understandable wallets that are secure. So I know, somewhere between Fireblocks, Ledger, and a bunch of these people, they will find solutions that are much easier for people to deal with. Then the other part is mass consumer applications, which I think is coming. I think it's social tokens and NFTs, that combination, and embedded with gaming and all of this other stuff. So I think the moving parts are all coming. Everybody's working on them. I think people have seen it clearly. DeFi has an issue that hasn't yet gone through a full risk cycle. We don't know what risk we're taking. So what is the blended rate of return through a full cycle? Because let's say in a junk bond, the blended rate of return needs to take into account defaults, not just the yield you bought it at. And so we don't really know the default risk or whatever the risk is we've got in that, right? So I think we need a bit more of that for maturity, for people to start saying, okay, fine, there is meaningful yield here that can last. That's not just a function of a scarcity of available borrow. So staking is interesting for that reason.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.